Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the We Know Traitors podcast over here on RHAP. I'm your host, the Duke of Deception, Pooya and Scally, ready to talk about episode 2 of season 3 of Traitors Canada. And with me, as always, my lovely co-host, the one and only Brian Scally. Scally, how you doing?
No middle name guess. I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to be here talking about Traitors Canada yet again. We had the premiere last week, but wanted to see once we start getting some people out of here, how does this show start shaping up? Is it a fun season? I think I play really aggressive, really, slow roll this thing. And so I'm glad to at least have some of the tone set for the season.
The tone is set, the energy is out there, and I do think that this can be best summarized by a quote that was said right after the end of the roundtable and the reveal, which was, "All right, I guess we're just continuing season 2 because loud and wrong was the theme of this episode, and I can't wait to break all of that down with you." Could your middle name be Brian also? Could you be Brian Scally?
Ooh, I will reveal that it is not. I
Hit and a
I
miss.
thought I thought maybe the season 2 once again, here we go, a little preemptive. I don't know if it is going to just be Traitors all the way through to the end, setting records yet again on Traitors Canada, but I do think they were very incorrect in the directions that they were looking. At least on Traitors Canada 2, people were looking at Michael John early, whether or not they were voting for him.
They caught one early there. And the other thing is, I think that what worked particularly well at the very least, like the first 5 rounds of season 2, was a relatively cohesive duo in the conclave where you had Kira and Netta, who definitely were like eyeing each other, but they're like, no, but we can coexist. We can work together for the minute. And that helped. This season is not going to be a repeat of season 2 because Scally, we're on episode 2. I would be willing to say episode 1.2. We didn't even get that far into the second episode, and we are talking traitor on traitor crime already. Like, these traitors are not going to coexist. I just don't see it.
It's how the episode opens at this point. Like, it's not necessarily in, okay, we have to get one of the traitors out of the game, but it's an immediate disagreement between my person versus your person. Who are we keeping and who are we sending to the death literally on the show? So I think that it's tough when you have a twist, which is, pretty much putting the traitors at odds immediately, but tough for them, maybe good TV for us. So I'm not so mad.
Yeah, the good TV definitely for us because we saw a continuation of where we left off last week, which was a cliffhanger where we saw Kevin and Coco and their 2 nominees to join them in Venus and Ty. They found out at the end of the episode one must die if the other is to survive and be a traitor. So, as you expected, they both were championing their pick. Kevin was like, in order for me to win, Ty has to be there, which I thought, Kevin, why did you say that out loud? Because now if you don't keep Ty, it's not a good look for you with Venus and Coco. But ultimately, he championed that. Coco was like, I picked Venus and I want Venus. And you and I, listen, we've had some horrible predictions in the past, Scally. Some really, we were dead wrong predictions. At the very least, we're starting the season strong because we predicted Venus was staying, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I would have been absolutely floored based off of last episode if this went the other way. And I will admit, for a minute there, I started to wonder, based in how Kevin was continuing to push, how hard he was going, because I didn't think that Kevin would give up had he pushed this far already. I think it was either I have to give up early or I'm not giving up at all. And so I, at a certain point, started to think, what does this season look like with Kevin and Ty as 2 of the traitors?
The more we saw Kevin push, the more I felt like, okay, if I pushed this much, I just wouldn't couldn't budge at that point because there's no road to return, right? It's like the toothpaste is out of the tube. You got to go all in now. You got to push all the chips in, which is why I worried when he was like bringing up the whole if Ty doesn't stay, my game's cooked. So he ultimately does give in. He let's tie down easy. Ty is our first casualty this season. Ty seems to take it fine.
I think so. I think Ty kind of is more frustrated at the game than he is at either person here, is my read on it at least. Maybe it's edited in that way where he doesn't have choice words for anyone, but I feel like if he does, you'd think they'd show it, right? But what is he going to do? Like, Kevin did put up a big fight. Had Kevin really just thrown his hands up and given up immediately, maybe you could be a little more mad at him, but Kevin put in a lot of effort trying to keep Ty in the game, at least again according to the edit. So I would say I would also be more frustrated with the twist than I would be with either of the two people in front of me.
Well, I do like that Ty did voice at the very least, or we saw a confessional of it saying he came into this game knowing the early game was going to be his struggle anyway. I think, did he expect this to be the struggle? No, I don't think for a second he thought this was how he was going to go out early. I think he just thought it was going to have a lot of eyes on him, a lot of sauce on him. That doesn't even come to be. So while there could be frustrations, I think, if I was in his shoes, I would find solace in the idea that I could have been actually, I would have hated this because the show didn't pick me to be a traitor. The traitors picked me to be a traitor. And then the traitors decided I was not good enough and cut me. That is low-key just murdered me overnight at this point. Like that's at least like sadness I can overcome.
Yeah. I think I would just be annoyed that I felt like I had the chance. Like, it was so close. I feel like I am going out there thinking I am going to be a traitor, that I am going to get what I want, and then to be left all of a sudden, I'm going home. This is you got my hopes up for nothing.
Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's a pill that has to be swallowed by somebody. So Ty will be taking that pill. Also, as I say this, let me go ahead and bring over our graphics so that people get the visual aid they may need. It is fully updated, so if you were not spoiled on who gets banished, you shouldn't have clicked on this episode. But here we are. Sorry to say for you. But yeah, and if you're listening to audio, you're safe.
Can I ask, what do you think of how Coco was pushing?
Okay, so Coco's push, what I liked about Coco's push was Coco vocalized. And I think Coco loses nothing by vocalizing this because it's very clear, I think, to Venus also that Kevin and Ty are boys, or like they're trying to do a BB can thing, right? So when Coco's like, well, to be honest, to be frank, we each picked one. You picked Ty, I picked Venus. That's what I did. I like that because it makes Venus realize, okay, Coco picked me and is now advocating for me. I think the other part of it that I do like was Coco also airing, listen, Kevin, as much as you want Ty, understand that how quickly you pick Ty and how you're pushing for Ty now means I'm never going to feel comfortable with the two of you in the game. So if you want for me to feel comfortable, if you want us to be a thing, I don't think that you can get what you want here. These are very sound arguments that are very hard to break. It's like, again, this is a guy who's from your franchise. You're both winners. How am I ever going to feel comfy in here? I think put a little guilt on. I think that's not a bad shout. What I don't think Coco realizes or recognizes or expects is for Kevin to have this level of vengeance on his mind. But what did you think about the Coco method?
I think there were good things where I think that Coco being like, look, I don't want to push. I am pushing. Like admitting it, like Kevin's not going to not see through that. And I think it's the type of thing where you want to say it because you want it to work, but you also know it's not going to. So I don't hate the like couching that a little bit. I think I can't decide if I think the like, look, we each picked one person and I picked Venus and you picked Ty kind of puts Kevin on the defensive because once Venus comes in, Kevin has reason to think that Venus might believe he didn't want her here. And so it kind of puts him in a position where he has to play a little more defensive. So I don't know that I would have volunteered that, thinking like, Kevin, like totally, I understand, we worked on picking these people together, but I think with Ty, like the more even footing argument, I think holds a lot of weight. But, and I feel like I would be on the outside. So I think all of that can be said, but cluing Venus in publicly in front of Kevin that he wanted her here less puts him in a defense position that I don't know that he appreciated.
Yeah, I do think it does do that. I also feel like for me, what's funny is that it's Kevin Jacobs. So that man doesn't know what defense is. He is all about that offense, baby. Because if anything, we watch him, the very next scene that he gets with one of the traitors, it's him strategizing with Venus at the idea of getting out Coco. So I think that he's going to, if anything, Kevin Jacobs is always going to operate under the impression that he needs to go to work now and he's to put the work in quick. So for Kevin, I feel like the minute he conceded Ty's departure, he was already cooking how to reel Venus back in, how to damage control the situation, and, you know, truly maybe overcorrect to the point where no one's going to think that he has anything going against them. You know, like he can make Coco feel comfortable. He can make Venus feel good. I see this ability in him, but I also see the fact that some people could see this as already him doing a lot.
I see, because Coco comes out of this being like, my goal is just to make Kevin happy. I need him to think he's a priority. We're the two original traitors. I want this to work. But for Kevin, like, the best defense is an extremely aggressive offense. And so he is going to Venus and being like, it's me and you. That's it. Coco, she's the worst. We're getting her out as soon as we can. How would you feel? Should we do it tonight? And so I think that for him, he feels maybe slighted by Coco here. And so that's over. That bridge is done. I already have seen that when push comes to shove, I can't force her to give me my way. So I need to try anything else, because I can't end up, you know, in a two traitor situation where it's me and Coco trying to decide who to murder tonight. And Coco says, absolutely not. I am deciding. Whereas maybe Venus will give in, maybe not. We don't know yet.
And I do think that for Kevin, to put myself in his shoes for a second, he genuinely felt like having the other Big Brother player there to burn and get a traitor reveal would be money. That's like guaranteed safety. This is, in a weird way, could be a blessing, but is also a curse where he's standing, which is, I'm the only BB Can person left now. If they for a second try and meta that there's a BB Can person in the turret, guess what? I'm the one that's going to go. So I feel like because he might feel like he's on borrowed time a little bit, he's going to then be a lot more forward, a lot more aggressive, a lot more offense, and a lot more chaotic, which is very fun for us, because I do think there were some glimpses of that. I think he wants his lick back against Coco, and I think he will stop at nothing to get it. The question will remain, though, is he A, going to be able to pull it off without, or B, will he be able to pull it off without being implicated? Or C, pull it off, traitor on traitor accusation, they kick him out next? Or will all this just backfire on him before it gets to Coco at all? These are many options that we can take, but one thing's for certain, I think Kevin's story will begin and end with Coco's. They are linked for the rest of the season. It's just a matter of who and how this plays out.
Yep. I mean, how many times do we say that you should try to recruit the person most similar to you, basically being like, get them voted out first? And like, they were a traitor. They would make us both traitors. And like, that is Big Brother Canada alumni. I think there is a world in which Kevin could eventually do that with, you know, Coco's also from a Big Brother show, which he has loved to bring up this week. Venus also from a, you know, a strategy reality show. So I think that he's still in an okay position. If one of them goes home, he has, you know, a little bit of an alibi there, but it's not as clean as just they're not making both Big Brother Canada winners traitors.
No, which I think is a very good call. Again, you know, especially in the starting game, you never anticipate. They should do it one season where just straight up the turret or the conclave is the three people from the same franchise, because that could, well, first of all, the people who are from that franchise the following season just don't go on the show, because I think you're going to get punished for it. But I think it would break the meta a little bit. But I think this was a great opening for Kevin. He saw it, he thought he took it, and it backfires horribly. But I will say, though, the other side of the coin, Scally, because like I said, this could be a blessing or a curse, because we see two different things come up. First of all, at breakfast, we see Meredith theorize that I think one of Ty or Kevin are going to be gone. They're the only two winners from Big Brother Canada, both here, and the traitors are going to want to get out a big gun. So this could help him, and it looks like it definitely did, because one Omer Zahir last week, Scally, this man got up and was like, I think Kevin's a traitor. And I was like, well, based on what? Based on the fact that it's not you? And it didn't seem like that was the case. It just seemed like Kevin was sus. Scally, the man came into breakfast today and said, based on Kevin's reaction, I do not think he's a traitor. He then, I went ahead and put it on socials. I said, well, there's the Omer I know. And then he replied to it And he said, and I'm quoting, bitch, why would Ty die? Crying emoji. So at the very least, making the mention that why would I ever assume Kevin did burn the only other Big Brother person night one? Because that makes no sense to me. So that could buy him some time.
Yeah, I do think it's a good argument, especially for someone like Omer who is coming in knowing, optimal good strategy. Like you're going to gain a little bit from the argument of why would I murder that person, but for a lot of other traitors persons who are not Omer, I feel like they may think because we would never suspect it because it would take all of the heat off of you. We would never look at you. When Omer realizes having Ty there is so much more valuable than the momentary like why would I do it? So for Omer, I understand that it looks a little bit silly where he's coming in saying like I knew it was Kevin Jacobs, and I was like, we have a little bit of like a Rachel Riley, Cody Calafiore, like all season knows, but how is he going to play it immediately into? Well, I guess it can't be Kevin.
Yeah, the more we talk about this, I'm not mad at this. Like, I know he didn't do it on purpose. I'm not mad at the strat, Scally. Getting rid of someone who's immediately going to be associated with you, as long as people make the realization of like, oh, it's a net benefit for this person to stay for you, that's good for you in the short run. And if they're the first person in a 22-person cast, you think come like roundtable number 8, someone's going to be like, I go back to that first night and like there were 2 of you here, one of you still here. Could you be the traitor? I don't think a lot of they're going to be so lost in the sauce by the 8th roundtable. There's going to be so many other names out there, so many theories. And like, depending on how you've played it, I think they're going to forget there was even another BB Can person in there. So I think that it could work for the long haul. It just comes down to what kind of player are you in the short term? And I say, my thought, based on especially how we saw Kevin play this episode, I think this is Kevin's not the player who benefits from this the most, because Kevin is going to make sure he's in that castle at every turn. You're not going to forget him. He's dancing. Venus said he's doing the Urkel out on the of what? His dancing?
Of just like this vibe. I feel like Kevin is, as he says last episode, skipping around, swinging the necklace for the Traitors crest on it. In this, he's once again dancing, making a show of himself where you can't miss Kevin. You can't forget that he's there.
No.
Do you like this or no?
So I've had, and you have also had, the pleasure of meeting Kevin in person. Kevin is a very fascinating person to meet in person because genuinely, like, you could be sitting there in a bar with hella people, and I'll be a couple drinks deep, I'll admit it, and it's very sobering talking to Kevin. It's a very chill conversation. Like, he has a very calm presence about him when you're in a conversation with him. You can have a deep convo with him, and then you can have the goofiest 5 minutes of your life right after where he is doing stuff like this. He has both sides to him locked in. And as long as he presents both sides, I think that's good, because if he doesn't do this early, he's going to look too calm. And then if he does any spike in character, they're like, that's weird. Why would you do that? It's like important to establish who you are early, right? Similar to how Omer kind of has nervous energy out the gate. Curtis is the one who cites it. Luckily for Omer, Curtis is the one everyone's sus of. So he's forgiven for that. And then everyone just knows how Omer operates and is moving forward. I think having your personality traits out there early on in the Traitors is so important, because especially if people don't know you that well, whatever they see is how they're going to take you and accept you for who you are, and then compare you to that the rest of the way through. So I think it's important for him to, even if he's forcing himself to do these dancey moments, he's like, all right, everyone's looking at me. All right, let's book you a little bit, because I think that as long as he keeps portraying that early, it's not going to look as suspicious.
Yep. It's coming out at some point, and I do agree the personality change is always going to be on people's radar. Kevin is not someone who I feel like can hide fully, and whether that be just because of his personality. He walks into a room and he is, loud and fun and boisterous, and he's going to be having a good time. You're going to notice him. So, or based on his reputation, it's not where Netta came in last season and people were like, oh yeah, there was, that girl who was on BB Can. Like, no, this is Kevin Jacobs, Big Brother Canada winner, that he has that reputation coming in here. It's much too recent. He comes off a little bit wolfy, let's be honest. So I think that just the combination of all of those things, I don't think that he can play a meek game. I think he needs to
Mhm.
be kind of making a show of it, and hope that works.
I think that so. Actually, first of all, for the uninitiated, what does Wolfie mean?
Wolfie would be like there are wolves and there are sheep, and so I look at someone and I see a wolf. That is not a wolf even in sheep's clothing. That is a wolf in
Mhm.
wolf's clothing. Like, that is
Mhm.
someone who is very obviously playing the game, strategic, like always thinking. They are willing to do anything. Like, that is
Mhm.
kind of along my lines of thinking on Wolfie.
Okay. Thank you for that. For the people who don't know, also I would say Hollywood, not sheepy, more wolfy, based on
A
the
little bit.
way Hollywood voted. Yeah. So back to Kevin. I actually, yeah, because again, I go back to when I've met him in person, and when I tell you, if I didn't watch his season and I just met him randomly, I think he's a very calm, chill guy in the right environment. But I think the problem is he's also coming in with the title of winner, right? And
Yep.
no one's going to buy the quiet, chill guy as the winner of a 90-day, 75-day marathon of a game. So they're like, there's something here, right? And so projecting that early is good because like, I see it. I get it now. But also it allows him to then be in both worlds because we see him be this high energy high energy person when he is trying to mask his scheming with Venus in the courtyard. And then we see him be this cool, calm, collected guy who's like kind of gossiping with the guys in the car on the way to the mission. And like, no one said that was sketchy in the car. No confessionals there. They were just, he was holding court and they were listening to him. I think it's important to be both, to have the abilities to both be disarming, which he is, and then be earnest and honest facing, which I think he is as well when he's talking to people.
Yep. Yeah, I think if he comes in and he's quiet and he's reserved, it's gonna be like, okay, well, that guy obviously won because he was super strategic and super smart. Where at least if you are this big personality, maybe he was just really likable. Like, who knows? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
he's not all that strategic. He's not playing the game that hard. Maybe he's just here. Even if he was there, maybe he's just here to have fun. He's not taking it as seriously. So I get why he's doing it.
Yeah, so he was in the car with, I want to say, Dom, Curtis, and Thompson, I think, right?
Yes, Dom, Curtis, and Thompson are in the car with Kevin, and Kevin kind of makes this like little bit of a circle of trust for the bros. We're gonna talk about what we're gonna talk about, boy stuff. And in that, it is all of a sudden the start of the revenge, kind of, at least amongst the faithfuls. This is where
Mm-hmm.
Kevin is starting to leak out beyond just Venus. Well, what do you guys think about Coco?
What do you about Coco? And like now, Kevin brings up that Coco was on Celebrity Big Brother, like Quebec Big Brother, a couple times. And my thought was, is this something that Coco is hiding or just people are not privy to and Because I would be extremely worried putting information out like that, especially if you succeed and Coco is revealed to be a traitor. How quickly until people are like, how would you know this?
My thing is, like, I'm sorry, the least semi is leaking around online. There are rumors, there's kind of a certain casting pool. And so I don't think it's surprising that Kevin might be looking at, especially considering how Trana did, like, all right, who are the most likely people from, Big Brother Quebec, like celebrity, to show up
This
here?
is
What
fair.
their history? I would be looking, if I know I'm going to go on a show like this, and just researching the competition. And for Kevin, it's like, I'm just saying, I wasn't exposing you. I thought you were telling everyone, but everyone very clearly, it's not that Coco is lying, but she hasn't brought it up. And that comes
Mhm.
off like hiding it.
Yeah. So Scally, Coco was on Big Brother Celebrity 3 and 5 and placed third in both seasons.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't know if is it a final three there, because she is talked about as a finalist, but does very, very well. I don't know if she's the fallen angel in both spots. I have been made aware of, like, you don't know what Coco's capable of. Like, she will do great. And whether that gets cut down early by someone like Kevin, by someone else, but I think Coco has a very high ceiling, regardless of how placement goes here.
Yeah, I mean, and Coco's been so much fun, delivering so much in the
Mhm.
confessional. So this is, and I saw a post which it resonated with me. I'm all for the traitors like farming chaos and poking at each other and like pointing at each other, as long as they all remain in the game. I think that would make for my most enjoyment is if all three traitors that we have make it as far as possible while looking at each other and potentially having opportunities to make little side alliances to then go after each other later on. That's what I would like. It is a tall ask, but we'll see. I know we're talking a lot about Kevin. Obviously, he was kind of put in the Sophie's Choice position here, so it's going to happen. But I also want to quickly rewind back to breakfast because a lot of people talking about trusting Kevin. We see Thompson making a confessional debut. Good on you, Thompson. Thompson wants to play with those he trusts, and Kevin is those people. Jericho also said he was very excited to sit in between two people that he trusts, and that was Kevin and Dom. So, bit of a bromance thing going on here by the looks of things. Now, what the exact combination of them looks like, I don't know. But at the very least, we can tell that Kevin and Dom are in a lot of like circles, like good with each other, and Thompson and Jericho.
Yep. Yeah, this little like group of 4 boys that all come in together, definitely reassuring each other and saying that, they think this is people that they can trust. We want to make sure that we can sit near people that we feel good with. Now, what I liked that Kevin did here is he's like, we should bring Ty into this. Like, he'll do whatever I say. He's totally going to be here this morning. So we should definitely include him in all our plans because that guy is walking in here next.
I do like that that bit of a addition to be like, hey, I think we should rope it because then no one's gonna think that you killed him. So that's not bad at all. Also, I did catch Jericho having a confession where he's like, sorry, Omer, but I would much rather Ty be here. So all right, where's Omer? Where's Omer's invite to the boys club? Huh? Wow. Okay, never mind.
Like
meanwhile, in one of the other cars, Scally, we see Rhea on her own mission. And I'm glad this came up at the roundtable later, spoilers, because I forgot about this until the refresher happened. But essentially, Curtis had floated out Omer's name to Rhea. So then, float out Omer's name. Rhea then goes to Curtis and says, have you heard Omer's name? And Curtis denies that, which was a red flag because she's like, well, I know you said his name. So what's that about? So she relays this to Omer and also tells Meredith, who's in the same car, that like, yeah, Curtis brought your name up.
Yeah, Rhea definitely involved in this episode quite a bit. Going ahead, like you say, stirring that pot, definitely talking about Curtis. Curtis brought up Meredith's name. Curtis apparently talked about Omer. And Curtis is a very busy boy in Traitors Castle.
Yeah, Curtis was very good friends with Ty off of one day. Like, I want to know, like, what did y'all talk about? Or did you know each other coming into this? Because it seems like they were such good friends that everyone was like, kind of weird that your best friend went out. I was like, bro, Kevin Jacobs was on the same show as him 1 season apart. How are you not? If these two are good friends, look at those two. Not saying you should, but like, part of it was like, I felt bad for Curtis. I was like, why is he going down with the ship here?
Yeah. I don't know if it was just the week 1, episode 1 Curtis that put a little bit too much on the radar for his name, but that really continued here where it felt like it's a safe name to throw out.
And listen, we've seen a lot of first roundtables be just the most common name to get out there. 16 people voted Curtis this episode. So his goose was rather cooked. And that's maybe before we even see how he shows up in this challenge. This mission. We had a very interesting mission. A bit of a 2-parter here. Number 1, they were going to be split into pairs. And then one person of the pair will be blindfolded. The other one will be the caller. And they're supposed to get led over to pouches that they can grab. And then those pouches later on will determine who could get a shield potentially of the pair. Now, one person had to volunteer to sit out. They couldn't get a shield, but they could choose the pairs. And we get Lizette, who ends up choosing to do so. What did you think of her decision to sit out?
I would never step forward for this ever, whether it be to be available for murder straight out in, the first 5 of the only 5 people are going to be available like last season. Absolutely not. Or just even there are shields available and you will not be eligible. I don't care if there is one shield available. Like, I'm not ever stepping forward. I'm not drawing attention to myself. That's never ever happening. So I understand, like, okay, you want to do one for the team, but like, I'm gonna do one for the team by collecting money in the challenge where I could also get a shield. That's where I'm gonna do one for the team.
Yeah, I also a lot of people talking about fairness in this mission, talking about how I got one, so it didn't feel right to get it twice. Says who, Jericho? What do you mean it doesn't feel right? Get it when you can.
Yep.
They are far and few in between. It's such a crapshoot on who gets it. You might as well go for it.
Yep. Like, if you want to say I want one later when there's less people and my chances are lower, and so I don't want it to be like, well, you've had 7 before this, but I'm taking every single shot that I can at that shield, and I don't feel bad about it in the slightest.
It's the second mission. Like, again, you don't even know if you're gonna be here 2 nights from now. Like, just go for it. So anyway, that being said, I thought it was a very fun second part to the mission where now each pair that did get a pouch, they're in order, and there are 4 bridges here. And you now have to stand on the bridge with your partner, and each of you are going to reveal whether who you voted for to take the shield among you. Bit of a split or steal here. If you both say the same name, that person gets the shield. If you don't say the same name, that bridge will burn, and y'all have to jump off of it because it's going to explode. And if 4 bridges explode, that's too sad. If you were the 7th team, then you can't get in the running for the shield. The shield train stops at that point.
I have mixed feelings on this.
Tell me everything.
Okay, so let's start. First of all, Kareen in little mini pool floaty couture. Great, loved it.
Okay,
Awesome.
you loved it. Okay, I was gonna ask you because I saw a lot of comments about this look. A lot of different opinions.
Look, she wasn't. I think it would be impossible to serve as hard as her roundtable look, which was quite the look. I really enjoyed the crimped hair, all of the above. Kareen, snap, snap. But the first part of the challenge, I'm gonna say kind of garbage. Walking around, everyone is screaming at the same time. I can't follow anything of what's going on. Not very interesting TV. Is there any consequence to really like who grabs how much and how fast they grab it? Was there a time limit? I didn't really feel like there was. So kind of like, all right, I don't know, take turns grabbing the money. Like, okay, you stop talking. Now I'm going to talk. Then they talk. Then they talk. Like, I didn't really understand why anything was happening in such a way. And maybe that was a me issue, but I didn't feel like I was following what was happening in the first part of the mission almost at all, except for the fact that like there's $9,600 and they're going to grab all of it. The second part, I have a lot more interest in. I think maybe it would have been interesting if like the money you collected would not be like actually put into the pot if you didn't match also. So like you're playing for a shield and the money you collected, because I felt like, okay, there's consequence in terms of the shield, but were we just guaranteed all of this money from the start, or was there any way we actually weren't going to get any of it? So I liked the second part, thought it was interesting, but I thought maybe like one little punch up could have helped as well.
Yeah. I feel like more often than not, the money component of these missions is almost guaranteed. It's basically we want to fill we want a little bit of difference in the episode. So here's the reason to gain the money, which is why I think the second part did intrigue me, because it all came down to, it was like, if y'all will it, if you choose to do this like correctly, you can get 10 shields tonight and 10 people are safe. But if you want to be selfish, like the consequences, you could piss everybody off. That's really all it was. And I think the biggest example of this, and maybe the nail in his coffin, Curtis and Rhea going up there. And Rhea, and like, bless him, Curtis had a confessional where he talked about how, Rhea, I'm going to listen to you this time because you sacrificed yourself yesterday. I was like, all right, Curtis, you know what's up. And then he has a confessional again where he's like, Rhea sacrificed it last night for the shield. So I think she deserves the shield. However, it is my birthday coming up. And so I think she would want for me to have the shield for my birthday. I was like, okay, even if that's the case, if you have vocalized to her, because she even said in her confessional that he mentioned, if you vocalized it, then just say what you said. Because I'd rather you lose it and look like, oh, I was going to give it to Rhea because she deserves it, even if it is my birthday. Like, I'm not saying you should milk the hero card. I'm saying the hero card was presented to you. Take it. Like, fuck a birthday. At that point, just give it to Rhea. Like you lose nothing by this bit of goodwill. They could, if they're sus of him, they could be like, well, of course, because you're a traitor. Because why would you wouldn't need a shield? So it could backfire on him. But I just think once you vocalize it to somebody, you got to go through with it at that point.
Yeah. Whether you love your birthday or hate your birthday, I don't think anyone cares about it as much as you do. Maybe your parents,
Never.
if you're lucky. So that's about it. But otherwise, like, I'm not giving you a shield for your birthday. Good luck. I'll slide you a piece of French toast or whatever Rhea said that she would give him.
A piece, like a bite.
There's not a lot I can give you while I'm in the Traitors Castle. Like, there's not that much in the manor, and that's the only gift I have. But I think for Curtis, especially, I'm curious to see, like, did he know his name was out there as a potential banishment? Because Shield's not going to help you in that. And maybe the ounce of goodwill that you give Rhea here, or get from Rhea for giving her a shield, might help you. So I would say, yeah, if you've already talked about it, you should definitely be going through with what you've talked about with the other person.
Yeah, because there's a world where that softens Rhea up also, because he doesn't know this, but he thinks him and Rhea are chill because he confided so much information in her. He doesn't realize is that Rhea's more chill with other people and is using this to bury him, or using this as a smoking gun, per se. But I still think better to risk it at that point. But we will ask him to get some clarity on the exit for sure. The rest of these, I feel like, again, everyone was playing, as Tony would put it, nice. Either people were on the same page with the shield, or the people that were not, there was no consequence to that, really.
I have a question. Kevin says when he and Sarah Nicole go that he never wanted to take public shields, whether he was a traitor or a faithful. It only will put a target on his back, so he was never going to take one. Do you agree with the move?
Okay. Whether faithful or traitor is wild, because that's a very different game either way. Obviously, you're not in danger of getting murdered, so the shield doesn't matter when you're a traitor. That being said, I feel like we've always operated under go for the shield always, because that's the most faithful thing to do. You can be overly selfish to the point where people resent you for it, a little bit like I would say Janelle in season 2 of US kind of had this energy thrown at her for always wanting a shield. So maybe don't come off super selfish, but I think that it's relatively inoffensive to go for the shield. If it's hidden, okay, that's good, because then you are not, they could try to take the hit at you, but you're safe no matter what. But if it's public, I also still don't see an issue with that, especially if it's a situation where, it's they want me to have it, so I'll have it, and I just feel like this early too, I don't see anyone really causing a stink about it. I don't know. Maybe you're seeing his perspective and I'm not, because what did you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think I really see the perspective. Maybe like occasionally I understand where you bring up Janelle, say Michael John last season, wasting all of the money on that shield for no reason.
Oh my God, stuff like that for sure. Do not ever sacrifice prize pot for it.
Because in this game where, especially in the early rounds, I'm sometimes guessing at best who the traitors are, I just want to vote out someone because I don't like them. Because like, if they're a traitor, cool, but also like, get them out of here. So don't make people dislike you for sure. But I didn't think that this was one of those situations. So the hard rule on never, I think that's probably an exaggeration from Kevin. I'm sure that we could see him going for a shield at some point later in the season if it benefits him. But I don't like it as a hard rule.
I think I recognize it in that, like, the mission where they have to like roll those barrels, and then amongst those barrels there's usually a shield or two. I understand not wanting to go for a public shield like that, because that could cause ire, because again, you sacrifice money, group money for that. But in an instance like this where it truly is just a situation of, I mean, there's going to be at least like 4 people safe, so you could be one of those 4. I think that's relatively inoffensive. I also think that being in the rotation for shields a little bit as a traitor is good, because like if he wins one here, then it's like, okay, I want to be fair, so next week I'm going to do what Jericho did and I'm not going to go for it, and people will be like, yeah, that makes sense, that tracks. Versus trying to avoid it always, I think is bad, especially when you are one of the more high profile people here.
Yeah. I mean, last week where everyone's getting on the dock and those are the only people eligible for murder. Like, I don't see Kevin getting on that dock. So I don't think it is like, I don't think that's happening, I don't think that he's drawing. I think basically it is a different way for him to say, I don't want to draw attention to myself. and it felt cleaner this way.
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't want to draw attention to myself. Makes more sense. That's
Yep.
the explanation for sure. But I will say I'm happy he didn't want the shield, because getting the slow-mo of him and Omer running to the water, cinema. So I wouldn't trade that for the world. Now, I will say, as juicy as that was, Scally, that was not my favorite moment of the mission.
Ooh,
My
give me
favorite
more.
moment of the mission was Chala being like, "Hey, so everyone with a shield, can they line up here? Can we see who got the shields? Because my God, that if that isn't the most smoking gun for someone to use against you." And I think if had it not been for Curtis being buried already, this is something I could see haunting Chala for a little bit here.
That's exactly it. I feel like so often in the first murder or banishment, you really have nothing to go on. And and Curtis's name really must have been around, because I feel like this was such a slam dunk. Like, all right, I understand people have gotten voted out before for being like, and I, as a traitor, I mean faithful. Like, okay, that to me is nowhere near as bad as this. Like, I would be side eyeing this so hard. Might ask in the car, like, who was it that won the shields again, or what? Like that type of thing of just like, I don't know. There's not that much to talk about at a certain point, but I immediately after the mission, like, all right, everyone with a shield go to the left, and let me see who I still have available on the right, is going to be extremely like a red flag all over the place.
Yeah, I would be very worried if I'm Chala and this gets brought to my attention. Also, something else that I remembered, and maybe this is for us to talk offline on how to ask it, but I feel like earlier in the breakfast scene, someone, and I believe it was Curtis, which is why I think we can ask him in the exit, mentions something about rolling in bed all night, thinking about what was said yesterday, and we saw the flashback of Kareen kind of teasing that, hey, two of you will be back here and one of you will make it out. I want to find out how much that has been discussed in the castle, because
Yep.
if that has been pulled at, that could also be something that exonerated Kevin, because again, they'd be like, why would, like, if it was a sacrifice and a recruitment, why would Kevin ever let Ty go? That makes no sense.
With Curtis,
Versus,
go ahead.
but also, yeah, but why would Curtis then do it? That's his best friend, allegedly. So
When Curtis was like, I'm pretty sure based on the stuff said yesterday that there was a recruitment and a murder. And I was like, Curtis had less information and like still figured it out when Kevin and Coco didn't. So like, I'm so sorry, Kevin and Coco, but Curtis seemingly ran
and
circles.
for that reason, Scally, he had to go. They were not taking no chances on this man. Someone cooked here, and it was Curtis. He had to leave.
Yep. No, I totally agree. I think Hollywood clocking that on Chala, though, a really good move. And I wonder if it was just there was more time, or Hollywood like got to like lead the round table and volunteered instead of Omer, if this looks totally different.
Well, I think just based on Hollywood's moment at the votes, where Hollywood mentions, "Listen, I'm a leader, not a follower, so I'm voting child." Like that was like a. I think the train had left the station at that point, right?
Yep.
The Curtis was going to be the hit tonight. I think this is why we also don't see Kevin pulling at the thread to get rid of Coco or even entertain that with the rest of the car. I think that's why you don't see Meredith's name circulating all that much. It's because they all kind of knew Curtis was going to happen anyway. So that's fine, because now they can move on, and there's a lot of other information out there to look at other people. And Chala's one of them. The other person whose name is now in circulation, which I didn't anticipate, is Meredith. How did we get here? It upsets me, but alas, we have to deal with it.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on at this round table, though I will say something that I feel about Traitors Canada in general is not that there was really much of the episode that I would have trimmed instead, but I feel like the round tables sometimes are a little bit too short for my liking, where I'm like, I feel like we were just starting to cook, and all of a sudden we're cut off. And I think that's probably an editing thing more than it is in real life. And so I wish that I didn't have the feeling that I came away from this roundtable a little bit not knowing the whole story. And maybe that's because it was so obvious that it was going to be Curtis the whole time. But I hope that we don't have that feeling moving forward.
Yeah, it did feel a little rushed. But at this, like, and I think that's really how it is with Traitors Canada. It is only an hour and 1 hour a week. That's with commercials 1 hour,
Sure.
so it's even shorter. I know you get an extended cut on Crave, but for the episode itself, it could be longer. And I do think a lot gets left on the cutting room floor, which is a shame because I think that Canada has been so strong with every franchise, where every season thus far, that like those roundtables pie smacking. Like we're just not getting to see a lot of it. But I would love to see what happened, because to go back to Meredith and Lizette's like confrontation after the fact, that could have been its own episode.
I feel like there's more here. I feel like,
for sure.
Yeah, just I don't know. Some of the things I just feel like there's a little more here, and I don't know what that is, obviously. So I feel like we have to go off of what we saw. But Meredith kind of offhandedly brings up, like, again, I thought it was Lizette, but we've totally made amends on that without actually making amends. Seems to have been not the best strategy.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just tough because I feel like, and I think for Lizette, it's like, I understand once your name is set at the table, you feel like that's you're going for me. Like that's the knives are out and you're ready. It's just tough because it's like you can tell Meredith is extremely apologetic. And also, I think the argument of like, why would I do that so early if I am a traitor? I think people often forget this part, which is more often than not, you're not getting a Kevin Jacobs who's going to start floating out a traitor's name or floating out names and theories to like push someone out immediately. They're going to be a little more subtle. They're going to, work in the shadows more so, not overtly bring your name up at the table to put attention on themselves and you as a result. But I understand where Lizette's coming from. And I understand that for Meredith, that's a very hard argument to make without coming off traitorish. Because if you think about those kind of counter arguments, you're almost thinking like a traitor, which you shouldn't be.
Yeah, I feel like Meredith bringing up multiple names here when it seemed like kind of an open and shut case, if anything, would make me think she's less of a traitor, because it's kind of rare that you have someone like a Bob the Drag Queen who is leading the table discussions, like actively putting targets on other people's names rather than just focusing on surviving the 1 week and without as little attention as possible. So I think that whether there was more there or not, I understand Lizette completely, where it's just all I was hoping to do was get out of this roundtable without my name being mentioned. And so no matter the context of what it's mentioned, I'm going to be very frustrated.
Yeah, it's, again, I wouldn't want to be perceived at the roundtable unless I put my name out there myself or I present myself. But you got, and like, you can't just, I think it's so hard. You really applaud some people who we've seen get sus at the roundtable and then calmly reject it and like maneuver out of it. I think it's extremely difficult, as a difficult art form to perfect. I think more often than not, there's going to be a little tinge of defensiveness that's going to come out and a almost outrage of, why in the world do you even think it's me? Like, that's so rude, because I've done nothing for you to think that way. I think most of us think we're innocent, or we're playing innocent when we're not in any of these games. You think you're a lot better than you might be perceived as. So it's hard. It's a tough line to walk, Scally. But can I tell you what was the most not shocking thing that happened at this roundtable?
Tell me more.
Omer couldn't wait 15 seconds to open his goddamn mouth. Omer, of course, Omer's here's the first one to speak. For those of you who do not know, Omer has featured heavily in games I've hosted over on Twitch or on Blood on the Clock Tower, and Omer likes to yap. So
that he does. Over under 2.5 more roundtables that Omer opens.
2.5 is very, if he makes it to 3 roundtables, he's opening in all 3. So like he will, by episode 5, he's beat that record, Scally.
That's the thing. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I think that he might want to zip back once or twice, but I know that Omer is sitting at this round table like, I got something to say. So like he wants to share his feelings. And I think that's valid. Look, sometimes we have feelings and we need to share them.
I think also, not like, it was a little bit of like a, we got him. May I do the honors? Because he said my name. Like, I think he wanted to be the first shovel. He wanted to be the first one. And he was for a faithful, but it is what it is. Again, 16 votes were received by Curtis here, Scally. The people who did not vote Curtis, were Curtis, who voted for Dom.
Fair.
Very weird that Dom's name is now mixed up in as a suspect here. Lizette voted for Meredith. Makes sense here based on what we had seen. And then Shaughnessy also refused to vote Curtis because she felt good about the conversations they had and didn't think he's a traitor. So she went with Meredith. Hollywood does go with Chala. Natalie, out of nowhere, votes for Asfer, who we had not really seen till then.
I know the editors were like, Natalie, we don't have time for this. Like, we're not. No, next time, Natalie. Good luck.
Yeah,
We're
you
not
can
doing
explain yours in episode 3. We'll move on from that. I think Jamal is emerging for me as a more vocal, faithful. Vocal so far wrong. We'll see if there's any other reads that get the redemption going there. But I think Jamal's one of the more vocal faithfuls. I think Rhea is one of the more vocal faithfuls. But I will say Rhea's reaction after the fact, I think Rhea could end up being a little bit in our Trana spot where Rhea's like, I'm taking a step back now. I've messed up. So
yeah, I almost felt like Rhea's reaction would make me worry that she is coming off the most faithful if I was a traitor. Of like, I don't think people are really going to believe it's Rhea, or at least there's so much goodwill built up around her of if anyone deserved a shield, it was Rhea. And like, oh no, now she feels so bad about Curtis going home. Like, it's okay, Rhea. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to murder Rhea. Like, sorry, but I would be a little worried about how much goodwill she seems to be gaining.
Well, to quick fast forward to the twist at the end of the episode, Karine comes in instead of letting the 3 traitors murder together. Because so far, we're about to be in a position, Scally, where the first 2 murders of the season are not conventional murders. Because Karine says, you're giving me a short list of 4 names. One of those names is going to die at the mission. And we end the episode with Kevin Jacobs saying, listen, I want to do something fun, and fun is chaos. So I 100% think Rhea should be on that short list. Just based off reactions that you're going to get, you put Rhea in there. But I don't know how much they get to decide who goes to the 4. If you do, you kill Rhea there, because I think Rhea's only going to be seen as more innocent and more protected by people when you put her in the short list. And I was like, leave Rhea alone. Hasn't she been through enough?
Yep.
She didn't have a shield.
Yep. That's my real concern here, is given that the murder is decided by the next challenge, I think it would be unlikely if I was a faithful to assume that a traitor put themselves in that position where they could be theoretically eliminated from the game. And like, I don't know how that works. Like, could you actually be murdered by yourself because you put yourself in this position? I don't know. But if that's the case, then I would think all 4 of these people immediately faithful. And so if I'm a traitor, these are my next 4 murders. Basically, I'm sorry, you have too much, plot armor. This can't happen.
I think if you're going chaos, Rhea's a great candidate there. But I also like your point of, you do not want to start making people get hard cleared as faithful, which I think is entirely possible to do. The good news is, more often than not, people go for the coffin theory all the time, where not one of them is a traitor for sure, because Karine's going to also mention that the traitors selected and could put themselves in, and their minds are going to start wandering. And then it's just a battle of who would be wild enough to risk doing that, and so on. So could it switch people's thoughts on Rhea? Maybe. But right now, Rhea is the most innocent, so it could make sense to get rid of her now, because you can be a cleared faithful long enough till you become the, were we just stupid and it was Rhea all along? But sometimes that doesn't happen. Like, you can hope for that, but that never comes, and they're just seen as clear all the way to the end, and then you're like trying to vote with them, and it's a whole shambolic thing.
Yep. Yeah, I would not rely on the one round table where everyone turns on the most faithful person. Like, I'm gonna keep those big, attention grabby people around, and obviously you run the risk of, like last season, where we all of a sudden had 7 attention grabby people all fighting for attention, and like, maybe they're just distractions. But I think you got to go with the current meta, and I think the current meta is get out the least suspicious people. If all of a sudden that changes, you can adjust later.
Yes. Now, moving on real quick, Scally, we already talked about how Thompson made a bit of a resurgence here. I think I have 2 new candidates for our invisible players. And they're from the reality TV side of things, because I'm very surprised how little we've gotten of Kitten so far. Where has she been? And
Mhm.
where's Kara been? I feel like they're two that I just do not see.
Yeah, I do think, like you said, Traitors Canada, only an hour. There's only so much screen time to go around, and kind of losing a couple people here. And I don't love it. I wish that we got to know them. Maybe that is good things for their longevity, and we'll get to know them later. But as of right now, I don't have a lot of questions for what's going on with certain people in this manner.
Yeah, like sad reality is, in the event that we lose Kara next week, right? Let's say in the mission, she's the one they choose to murder. There's not a lot that I have to ask her, because there's a lot I've seen. If anything, I'd be like, okay, you tell me what I haven't seen, because like, what have I not seen? Yeah, but I think again, I do not think this is a selective like removal. It's really all comes down to the fact that there is not enough time.
Yeah. And who's relevant right now? It's not as like to the main storyline going on. It's not as if I would not be extremely curious to hear about Kara, Kittens, many other people's personal
Right.
experience, but I just wouldn't have the personalized questions in we saw this, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that again, they were not relevant to the Curtis accusation. They were not relevant to the turret. They were not relevant
Yep.
to the conclave, to the Coco sus, to the Kevin sus, none of that. So it makes sense that when their time comes, they'll get their moment. It was just something
Mhm.
for me to note specifically. And so that is about everything that I had to talk about here. Is there anything that I may have missed or you wanted to talk about further?
No, I think as far as what we saw on the episode, I feel pretty good. I'm curious, suggested Rhea as a potential chaos pick. Who else are you eyeing for this little short list they have going on?
Hmm. I was gonna say we should predict each put our 4 predictions for. So
Ooh.
okay, so they're going chaotic, right? If you
Okay.
are Venus and you are Kevin and you are Coco, and in the graphic you are circulating one Omer Zahir, you put Omer in that bunch. I think
If you're it's so hard because if you're going chaotic, yeah, the first name that pops up to my head is Omer. Like that seems like a fairly chalk pick. But are you willing to lose Omer if you
right.
put in Venus?
I don't think so. I think the other part of it also is, if anything, I would rather not put any of my like people that will be associated with us together, because then you don't want people to start looking that way anyway. So I'm going to offer an alternative, a more civilian heavy list.
Okay.
Rhea, Chala, Meredith, Lizette. Based on the drama you saw with Meredith and Lizette, that makes sense. Based on the fact that Chala could have some sus on them for the whole like who's got a shield, that also, and then Rhea obviously being a little more vocal, a little more fiery against Curtis, and then a little more remorseful, will have a lot of reactions, which I think is important to look at. So that's my list of 4 that I would put in.
I
As
can see
far
it.
as farming chaos. Now you may be asking yourself, where are the men? I would
Yes.
say that you want some as ferocious is advertised as ferocious, but I don't know. The thing is, based on what we've seen, these are some of the people that could sow seeds of chaos that would not put attention towards the Big Brother Canada Survivor realm.
Yeah.
Hollywood
Uh
could be a shout also.
I did think about Hollywood as well, thinking I
Mhm.
think you go with like one of Hollywood or Chala. You go with like one of Meredith or Lisette. You go, I think that
Okay.
like, we're still framing people. That's still
Mhm,
happening in this
mhm,
year of
mhm.
Traitors.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of where I would lean. So I am not quite sure where I go. I think I probably I feel like Chala has the more likely next banishment lined up, so I'd probably go Hollywood. But in general, I don't know. People seem to really celebrate when certain people came in, and so if everyone's cheering for some
Rhea,
people to get
Rhea,
here,
Rhea.
like Aria, Shaughnessy comes in to quite a bit of applause too,
Mhm.
might be motivated to put their names up all of a sudden. You're so loved.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Only a sicko would put everyone loves up there, but it is us, the sickos. Yeah, that'd be fun. I think there's not a lot of wrong picks as far as
I
like
agree.
drama goes. I think we're gonna get drama. Now, if they went for like the tamest 4, we won't have words. But y'all said chaos. I'm going to believe that y'all know what chaos looks like. So we're going to get that.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see. What do you think about giving the traitors like a tough position 2 weeks in a row where someone that they actively wanted goes home as the first murder, and now
Mhm.
sure it's one of four, you could put four people you want to go home in some order, but you really don't get to choose who's best for your game here either.
So the implication from Korean was that they will, one of them will die at the mission.
Mhm.
I also interpreted it as they do not get to choose which one. That it's a bit of a game of chance because they said depending on who they're paired up with, they could go home. So I don't know if it is truly out of their hands. This is a wild start because I feel like this, and then we should just see what they say for night for the third one. Because if the third one is also like this, Scally, we may have to have a discourse conversation next week about whether or not the traitors have been made too weak.
Mm.
Because that could be, I feel like a lot of people have said they are way too OP, the traitors. I've always said it's the titular traitors, that makes sense. But could we be discussing the power of the traitor from there on? Because a 1-4 is not ideal. And I think it also heavily incentivizes, especially because she even tells them, Scally, you can nominate yourselves. Why in the world would I nominate my? Does that mean that then there's a 75%, a 1 in 3 chance that someone I want goes? Because I might want to do that if I
Yep.
have immunity. But I mean, imagine a world where they're like, well, we want to guarantee this person to leave, so let's put all 3 of us in there and this person.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, but no, 1-4 is, it's early enough. You shouldn't really like, I don't think there's going to be too big a harm in your decision making here. I don't think anyone is emerging as a chalk favorite to murder. You and I have discussed the merits of Rhea because she's looking to be more proven faithful than most, but
Mhm.
it's still roundtable 1. Y'all all went consensus on Curtis, meaning anything's up for grabs. Anyone can have their name out there. So I don't think you're going to get punished too much for a 1-4 here this
Yeah,
early.
I think that like I would rather them take this like risk and twist early in the season, so I'm happy it's here. I think
Yes.
that your mileage may vary on the like normal short list where the traders will then just get to choose next week out of the people that they listed who they
Mhm,
want.
mhm.
I am looking at this short list and I wonder if it could be something like the cages in US and UK 3 where like you collect gold and put them like stack them to figure out whoever gets the most, and maybe just the
Oh, that
person
could
who
be a
doesn't get
shout.
enough is the
Mhm.
one. And so there's a way to subtly influence that
Oh my
as the
god.
traders, but I don't think that you want to expose yourself enough to actually like
Yeah.
hardcore go in one direction. But I don't know, I think that I would enjoy that more than just random chance.
Oh, that's a new brand of sick because Kareem clearly wants bloodshed this season. So it is kind of a sick thought to be like, okay, the traders put up a short list, but Faithful, well, you're gonna help kill one of them. That is
Mhm.
kind of messed up. That is, and the slow burn of like realizing, oh my god, they're getting rid of this person. Oh, that would suck. Oh, that's
Yep.
cinema. Oh, that might
Yep.
happen. That
I
might happen,
wonder.
Scally. Yeah, we'll see.
I wonder. I mean, there others. The world is of like, okay, you're gonna each choose a coffin to like go in, and they have like, all four have spikes, but the trader's coffin has, like foam spikes or something. Like, who knows what it's gonna be?
Yeah. One thing's for certain, it does make the mission exciting a little bit, which I'm always here for. So far, I've been happy with the missions we've had. I might be in the minority here, but more and more, I feel like every other franchise also is stepping up on the mission front. They're still my least favorite part of the show because for me, I'm more there for the social, I'm more there for strategy, I'm more there for confessionals, and that stuff entertains me more than a mission does. But I like the switches up that they're doing. I like that they're adding more intriguing bits. I like that they're adding a little more of a social component, strategy component to these things, and potentially adding more things for people to look at as clues or accusations,
Yeah.
as opposed to this person did not run fast enough in the mission, therefore they're suspect. It's like, nah, they're just tired, fam. Like that's what it is. So yeah,
Yep. No, I agree. As a completionist, there's no way that I could just skip a mission.
I can't. Just the fear of missing context later on. I would not
Yep.
want to do that.
Exactly. And I mean, imagine you skip and you don't know that Chala like asked who lined up for the thing. Like there's just different things
Yeah.
that happen. So
Or
I
like
do, yeah.
you skip and you miss Bob the drag queen dragging Tony in
Yeah.
that one mission. Like, what are no, you don't want to miss all that. But yeah. All
Exactly.
right. So this was a very fun ep. We'll be talking to, as we said, Curtis and Ty soon come. So be on the lookout for those. It is early in the season, so I do implore you, please, if you can, leave a rating and review for us so that people can find us. Brand new season, brand new reviews. robinswebsite.com/TRAITORS. Scally, what other things do you have going on at the moment?
Ooh, myself and Matt Lagori over on the Free Agents podcast talking about the challenge, which has been extremely fun, as well as this season of the Amazing Race Big Brother edition, also very fun. So go check those out. And then otherwise, I am on Twitter, Brian_Scally, on Blue Sky, Brian Scally, and on Twitch, twitch.tv/bscally. What about you?
I am talking the Traitors, Celebrity Traitors UK currently with Annabelle. That has been so much fun. I cannot stress this enough. I never would have expected this group of celebrities to play the game as hard as they are. So make sure you check out that show and then the coverage if you have time. But again, it's worth it. So check that out. I've back on 90 Day proper Scally. We have made the move over to the 90 Day Fiance the other way. It's been the better choice. And I have talked with Liana last week, with Kirsten this week about 90 Days. So make sure you check those out. Liana and I will be recording another episode of The Pal this week. I believe we're doing costumes for this one for Halloween. So be on the lookout for that. Am I missing anything? Yeah, find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. That's where I am when I'm not podcasting, and at Pooyaism on any other platform. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. We hope you had fun here with us. We'll catch y'all next week for episode 3. But until then, take care. Have a good one. Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.